I arrived to the MFA program at SAIC with, I don't know, roughly 40 or 50 pages of a novel that I was developing, that I had begun, I guess, a year earlier. I think it was part of my application materials, and essentially decided pretty soon after I arrived there that it was going to be the work that took up the better part of my time while I was at SAIC, which was a really wonderful thing to be able to do, to use that work to kind of attend the various workshops, but still be able to talk exclusively about the one work. And it ended up being a novel that was published ultimately in the year 2009, so 4 years after I got out of school, by the Dial Press, which is an imprint of Random House, and it's called The Slide, with the subtitle, A Novel, which is for clarity's sake, I suppose. The novel, The Slide, is about a young man named Potter Mays who's 22 years old and returns to St. Louis, Missouri after being in school in LA, and is doing his best to figure out the various existential quandaries of being a young American in the post-millennial life. So he works as a water delivery person, driving a van, takes temp work, develops a relationship with a young boy, develops a slightly dangerous relationship with an underage girl, and gets himself into troubles. I think for me the most important thing about my experience at the Art Institute with that manuscript in particular was finding ways to reach in directions that I wouldn't normally have, experimenting with point of view, experimenting with just various angles of approach to the same subject matter, but coming at it from kind of radically different places. So the architecture of a sentence, interesting syntactical arrangements, a certain word out of place, a certain noun that becomes verbed, the sort of work that Gary Lutz does, Ben Marcus, of course. But all of this starts, I guess, originally my interest started with William Gass, and I remember actually approaching Sarah Levine, the chair of the writing department, and saying to her, or the writing program, and saying to her, look, I'm really interested in sentences. She said, oh, that's great, me too. Here's this entire catalog of essays that you should read about it. And so as a writer, that was really wonderful, and even more so as a teacher now, I find myself returning to those things. Being able to spend my days discussing literature is a kind of dream reality. So I was very, very, very fortunate along the way to find myself in positions where I could have work and stack the work and juggle it so that I could make a living with it, but it was always something I knew I wanted to do. I had the resources in terms of personnel and in terms of people I had met to be in the right place, and that right place was very clearly Chicago.